All right, so get this, we're going deep today. Really deep into jujitsu.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, but not just, the moves and stuff. We're talking about the learning secrets, the training philosophies of, have you heard of Joseph Chen?
Yeah, the name rings a bell, isn't he?
Yeah, exactly. Everyone's calling him a prodigy, a mystery, even a future world champion.
Right.
Yeah,
So we're trying to figure out what makes him tick.
totally. We've got some juicy stuff, too. Interview clips with Chen himself. And get this, insights from people who train alongside him at B Team. You know that gym with all the Danaher Death Squad connections?
Oh, wow, yeah. That's a serious pedigree.
So what's crazy is his jiu-jitsu story doesn't start on the mats. It starts with him playing, of all things, UFC 3.
Wait, really? A video game?
I know, right?
Yeah.
Apparently he saw this move, the seminar role, and was like, I gotta learn that.
It's wild how a spark can come from anywhere.
Absolutely. Speaks volumes about how powerful curiosity can be. And this was right when COVID hit. Perfect timing, right? Tons of time to train, and he dove into some pretty interesting reading material.
Like what?
Okay, ready for this? The art of learning and the will to keep winning.
Those are right. Those are usually for, like, gamers and high performers in other fields. Not really what you'd expect for a jiu-jitsu athlete.
Exactly, and that's what we're going to unpack. It seems like this early self-directed learning, pulling from all these different areas, really shaped how he approaches jiu-jitsu. Like he was already thinking about skill development in this unique way before even stepping on the mat.
Fascinating. So he's coming in with this almost like meta-awareness of learning itself.
It seems that way. And then, of course, he ends up at B Team. I mean, talk about intensity. The place is known for churning out some of the best grapplers in the world.
No kidding. So did he, like, seek them out? Was it a strategic move?
You'd think, right. But actually, from what we gathered, it was more about proximity. B Team just happened to be close to where he lived, and he enjoyed training there. But even in that kind of environment, he stands out.
How so?
It's not just that he's training at this high-level gym, it's how he's using the resources around him. Take instructional videos, for example. Most people try to copy techniques exactly, like move for move.
Right, just mimic the instructor.
Exactly. Not Chen. He's focusing on techniques that he's actually been caught with. He uses his own experiences on the mat to guide his learning.
Wow, so he's almost like reverse engineering his opponent's game plans.
Yeah.
Show me what works against me and I'll figure out how to counter it. That's next level thinking.
Right. Incredibly strategic.
Speaks to a deep understanding of his own strengths and weaknesses. He's not just blindly following instructions, he's adapting techniques to fit his own game.
Which makes sense, because in that high-level environment, he was exposed to all these different training philosophies. And this is where his growth versus performance concept comes into play, something he got from the art of learning. Can you break that down for us a little?
Sure. It's about recognizing there are different approaches you need when you're developing skills compared to when you're performing under pressure. So there's form to leave form. That's all about making techniques instinctive through repetition.
Like muscle memory, just drilling something until it's second nature.
Exactly. Like, think about how you tie your shoes. You don't have to consciously think about each step, right? That's form to leave form in action.
Got it. So that's one side of it. But then there's, what was it, making smaller circles? Isn't that more about, like, slowing down, breaking things down, really understanding the nuances?
You got it. It's a more analytical approach, focusing on the why behind the technique, like reverse engineering a complex move. Imagine you're struggling with a sweep. Instead of just drilling it mindlessly, you break it down. Analyze your grips, your timing, how your opponent's reacting. That's making smaller circles.
Interesting. So one is about intuition, and the other is about deliberate analysis. Sounds like Chen knows when to use each one, depending on what he's trying to achieve.
Exactly. He's got this intuitive sense of when to just flow and when to really dissect things.
Pretty insightful.
Oh,
But
nice.
doesn't that create a kind of tension? Like, can you really be spontaneous and creative if you're always overthinking things?
That's a great question.
Mm.
And it leads us to another concept Chen talks about, innovators versus honors.
Okay, I'm intrigued.
He got this from a video by Corey Gaming. Basically, it highlights this duality in jiu-jitsu. You got the innovators who are constantly experimenting, pushing the boundaries, always trying new things. And then you've got the honors who are all about mastering the fundamentals, drilling those core techniques to perfection.
So is he saying one is better than the other?
Not at all. Chen actually believes that both are essential for success in jiu-jitsu. You need that balance between exploring new techniques and honing the ones you already have under pressure.
So you need to be able to create and improvise, but also have that solid foundation to fall back on.
Precisely. You don't want to get stuck in the past, but you can't neglect the fundamentals that got you to where you are.
Makes sense. I'm curious, though, is there a risk of spreading yourself too thin? Like if you're constantly jumping between innovation and honing, do you lose focus?
Absolutely, it's a balancing
Oh,
act.
yeah.
And it comes down to self-awareness, right? You have to understand your tendencies and find that sweet spot where you're pushing your boundaries, but also sharpening the tools you already have. It's where the real magic happens.
So how does all this translate to his actual training? How does this innovator versus honor idea play out on the mat?
Well, one thing's for sure. When Chen drills, he doesn't mess around. It's not just mindless repetition for him.
So what does he do?
He emphasizes what he calls specific rounds.
Specific rounds. Okay, I'm listening.
It's basically like creating live scenarios,
Yeah.
right? You focus on applying the techniques under pressure, not just going through the motions.
Ah, so like bridging the gap between drilling and sparring.
Exactly. You're getting real-time feedback, but in a more controlled setting.
That's smart. Makes a lot of sense. But how does this tie back into this whole innovator versus honor thing?
Well, it can be both, actually. It all depends on what you're trying to achieve.
I'm not sure I follow.
Okay, imagine you're in a tournament, right? You're down by points. Your specific round could be all about escaping and sweeping from that exact position. That's honing your skills under pressure.
Right, right. So that's the honor side of things.
Yeah, exactly. But it can also be about innovation. Let's say you've been working on a new guard pass. A specific round could be trying to hit that pass against a resisting opponent. See how it works in a real situation.
Ah, I see. So you're using the specific round to test out new stuff too.
You got it. It's about tailoring your drilling to fit your goals, not just going through the motions. Make every rep count.
I like that. So every round has a purpose, a specific focus. It's not just random drilling.
And there's this other element he brings in that's really interesting. He calls it tinkering.
Tinkering. Okay, I've never heard that term in jiu-jitsu before.
He actually got it from this book, Mastery. It's about using drilling as a space to experiment and really talk things through with your training partner.
Ah, so instead of just mimicking the instructor, you're actually problem solving together.
Exactly. You're asking questions, getting feedback, figuring things out in real time. And that back and forth, that dialogue, it's huge for both partners. Creates a feedback loop, encourages deeper understanding.
That's cool. Turns drilling into this dynamic exchange. You're not just practicing a technique, you're really understanding it.
Totally. And, with all this talk about constant improvement and pushing boundaries, you might think this guy's just obsessed with winning.
Yeah, I was thinking the same thing. He seems fearless, like he's always putting himself in these tough spots, not afraid to lose at all.
It's interesting, right? Because that's another area where Chen's mindset really stands out. He's got this unique perspective on losing. Pulls from The Art of Learning again here.
How so?
He views losing as an investment.
An investment? What does that even mean?
Every time you lose, it reveals a weakness in your game, a gap in your knowledge, an area where you need to improve. Most people get discouraged by that. But not Chen. He sees it as an opportunity.
So he's like, show me where I'm weak so I can get stronger.
Pretty much. And he actually takes it a step further. He talks about deliberately playing his B game.
B game.
Yeah.
So like intentionally using techniques he's not as good at.
Yep. Just to expose those weaknesses, force himself to adapt. He's not just accepting defeat, he's actively seeking out challenges because he knows that's where the real learning happens.
That's pretty bold. Wouldn't that risk like reinforcing bad habits or slowing down his progress?
It's a valid concern. But the key is that he's deliberate about it. It's controlled experimentation, not just being reckless.
So he's picking specific areas he wants to work on, then testing them out in these B game roles.
Exactly. It's all part of this bigger picture of constantly evolving. Now, this willingness to lose, to put himself out there, it speaks to his overall philosophy, right? This guy makes unconventional choices. Look at how he decided to prioritize those jiu-jitsu trials over finishing his A-levels.
Yeah, that was a big one. And his parents weren't exactly thrilled about it at first.
Classic story, though. The pull between passion and those traditional expectations. I think a lot of people struggle with that.
For sure. But hey, it seems like his dedication and success won them over in the end.
It's hard to argue with the results, right?
So what about his future? Does he have like big goals, a master plan? Is he gunning for a world championship?
He definitely has the potential, and his training speaks for itself. But here's the thing. Chen doesn't have this rigid, 10-year plan laid out. He's taking it year by year.
So he's focused on the journey, not just the destination.
Precisely. He's enjoying the process, trusting that the right opportunities will come along as he grows.
That's refreshing to hear. So many people get so fixated on the end goal, they forget to enjoy the ride.
And that's what makes Chen so interesting. He's ambitious, driven, but also incredibly present. And I think that's a powerful lesson for all of us.
So after this deep dive into the world of Joseph Chen, what's the one thing you hope our listeners walk away with? What's the big takeaway?
I think it's really about, recognizing that excellence isn't some finish line you cross. It's the whole journey, the whole process, constantly trying to improve, embracing the challenges, even finding joy in all of it. And that applies to anything, really, not just jujitsu.
Right, like it's not just about the destination, it's about who you become along the way. All the little wins, the setbacks, the lessons you pick up, they all shape you, right?
Absolutely. And Chen really embodies that. It's not just about medals for him. He's using jujitsu as a way to grow as a person.
Mm.
It's pretty inspiring when you think about it.
It is. But it also makes you wonder, how can we take these ideas, deliberate practice, that growth mindset, embracing the discomfort, and apply them to our own lives? It sounds great on paper, but how do we actually do it?
Yeah, that's the real question, isn't it? And here's something to chew on. What if, instead of being afraid to fail, we started seeing it the way Chen does, as an investment, a stepping stone, a necessary part of learning?
That's a huge shift in thinking. It's so easy to get caught up in that fear of messing up, of not being good enough. But what if we looked at those setbacks as opportunities to learn and actually get better?
Exactly. That shift in perspective can change everything. You go from getting discouraged to seeing setbacks as valuable feedback.
So it's not about being fearless. It's about using fear as information, a guide on your path to getting better.
And it's not easy, by any means. It takes effort to shift your thinking like that and be okay with those uncomfortable moments. But the rewards are so worth it. When you start seeing failure as a teacher, there's no limit to how much you can grow.
Man, that's a powerful way to look at it.
It really is.
Well, I think that's a perfect place to wrap things up. So to everyone listening, next time you're facing a challenge on the mats, at work, in your personal life, remember Joseph Chen.
Remember his approach.
Don't be afraid to test your limits, to experiment, and yeah, even to fail.
Embrace the discomfort.
Yeah.
Learn from it. Never stop exploring.
Who knows what you might be capable of when you start to see growth as the real victory.
Well said.
That's all for today's deep dive. We'll see you next time for another exciting look into the world of learning and mastering your craft.